Hello everyone, it's Patricia Warby, Alchemy Therapies here, and another in my weekly updates. And today I want to talk about pain and the myriad symptoms that can occur due to a misunderstanding, if you like, in the brain, a poor connection, a learned, conditioned response to experiences that have overwhelmed you. And I'm using as the basis of my talk here a fantastic interview that I saw with Dr. Howard Schubiner and Raylan Agel on her channel, which has inspired me because I've been a fan of Dr. Schubiner's for a long time, since he wrote a book, oh, it must be over 10, 15 years ago, called Unlearn Your Pain. It's the first time anyone had ever suggested that pain could be a learned experience and that the brain gets it wrong. And I think there are some really, really important ideas in that presentation, but I wanted to summarize it for people who perhaps don't want to sit through the full 45 minutes. I'm going to attempt to do it in about 12 to 15 minutes. Let's see how I do. I will, however, include the full interview in the show notes below. So please, if you like what I'm about to do and you enjoy the content, please subscribe, because it really helps my channel. Okay, first thing to understand is that emotions are processed in the same parts of the brain as physical injury. All right, the sense of threat from emotional experiences is considered as dangerous as damaging a body part. And often they're very linked. So we often have, maybe we do have an injury or we have an infection or something happens to us, but we also have an emotional reaction to that experience, and that actually heightens the threat sense in a part of your brain called the limbic system, and in particular the amygdala. And when you're under heightened threat, the signals that are conducted from the body to the brain are often wired in a strange way as a sort of ever-present, overwhelming life threat that creates all sorts of strange neurological symptoms, and not just pain. In fact, Dr. Schubiner has written another book where he believes anxiety and depression are also a factor due to this unresolved emotional threat in your brain. And I totally agree with that and always have done. But what about other symptoms? What about strange tingling or sensations of a body part that feels in the wrong place or larger than it should be? That's Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Believe it or not, it has a name. What about coldness or a disconnected feeling, so that in fact you're always injuring one part of your body and not another? These are all dissociative experiences controlled by your brain. In fact, pain, the pain response is controlled by your brain. So it's no surprise that sometimes that can get a bit dysregulated, particularly in a highly stressed system. So the brain actually interprets the signals that are coming to it from the body and makes a associative guess based on what it knows about the body, what that could be. And if you've had emotional experiences, particularly in your early life through childhood, that haven't been resolved, it kind of sets your stress level quite high and makes it much more likely that current experiences that overwhelm you are experienced as a sort of a life threat, basically, rather than what they truly are, which is a healing opportunity. So look, what really creates how we feel is this interpretive experience. We are perceptive beings. We make a judgment on where we are in our situation, whatever's going on. And if we decide that our symptoms are really dangerous, because many people are frightened of their symptoms and don't understand why they occur in different parts of the body and why they move around and why they change in intensity, and some days they're worse than others. You can often get, for instance, things like the swallow reflex becomes more difficult. You get extra saliva or not enough saliva. You can get dizziness in the ears or ringing. That's another really common one. And these things that happen in your head, they're really, really frightening for that reason, because they're close to your brain. They're close to your sense of operation, if you like. So understanding this and understanding that if you overinterpret and then pathologise or catastrophize over what's going on, then it's much more likely that the symptoms will persist, because your brain learns that they're important. This is the awful thing. And so Howard Schubiner has produced a 28-day program where he helps to train people to unlearn, and that's why it's called Unlearn Your Pain or Unlearn Your Anxiety. And I'm not an affiliate. I don't get any credit for recommending his work, but when I came across his approach, I really understood this is the mind-body connection, okay, and it's so important. And believe it or not, most doctors don't know anything about this, that the brain is involved in pain interpretation, because they learn really about the physical structures of the body and what can go wrong, but they don't learn how the brain oversees it, because that's considered psychology and they don't learn psychology. Okay, so after a certain time, your body's able to heal whatever problem you have, if it's a physical injury, but emotional injuries tend to stay around forever, basically, unless you address them, because emotions are a state of physiological regulation as well as feelings. And sometimes if you're overwhelmed, the brain makes the interpretation that this is never going to go away. And I work with a lot of people who tell me, I'm never going to get better. They really believe this. So you really have to change your mindset. It's the only thing you can change, and learn to not be so afraid of your symptoms. And that is so much easier when you're doing it with other people who are also going through this process and getting results. So I wanted to make it clear that this isn't an easy process on your own, okay? And you can, and some people do, benefit from reading his books and seeing his online work. But basically, you need a sort of structured approach to relearning new ways of interpreting the signals that are going on. And that helps to break the fear symptom cycle. Okay, so you get symptoms, you get fear of the symptoms, and you get more fear and more symptoms. So very important. Personality does affect how people interpret this. Now, my approach is slightly different to Howard's. I kind of see it as sensitivity, which is an overlay, if you like. How sensitive are you depends on many things, whether you have a neurological diversity, like ADHD or autism, which tends to sensitize people. There's a brilliant paper on that. I'll include that in the show notes as well. And, if, as I say, if you had childhood experiences which have overwhelmed you consistently and you've lacked emotional support, that's another way that this can happen. Okay, so the unexpected key to recovery, therefore, is to deal with past experience so that you know that you're safe, and building safe connection with initially another person and then hopefully with yourself, and finding your body as a source of safety rather than as threat, because that's unfortunately what happens when we get symptoms, is we begin to believe our body's betraying us. So the quickest way to getting better, the quickest way is really to use practices which build a safe, secure feeling within the body. And that's usually psychosensory. It's usually touch, or hearing nice sounds that re-regulate your brain. Having a safe connection, somebody you can talk to, but who doesn't need you to be well, and who can understand what you're going through. A lot of the clients I work with haven't talked to anyone really in their families or in their friendship groups, because they don't want to burden them with what they're going through. But of course, if you're then carrying that secret, that's an extra stress on your system. If you're trying to appear normal when you don't feel normal, and if your doctor can't find anything wrong and says, no, all the tests are coming back negative, you can see how you get in that fear cycle, can't you? So when you want to do something about it, I would really recommend joining a program. I operate one called the Emotional Audit Program. That's either a self-learning program or a group program, which runs once a year, the group program. The self-learning one, obviously, you can do at any time. And there are very many other programs out there which aim to help you understand what's going on and take away the fear. So understanding and acknowledging and being present in your body are real keys to getting better and breaking this fear anxiety cycle, which creates and perpetuates symptoms. So look, the reason you are suffering is not because you're broken, it's because you're sensitized in some way through your past experience. And that's a very common thing for many, many people, is that they've come through, I don't know, disconnection in their childhood for some reason. Maybe they've had difficulties with parental attachment. Maybe they got bullied at school. Maybe their birth was difficult. Maybe they had a childhood illness. There are so many things that play into this build up of threat in the mind-body system. And we must understand that it's a system that communicates from the body to the back brain and is interpreted in specific ways in this rather damaging scenario where a symptom is the only way the body can communicate with you and say there's an emotional threat here that you need to look at. And so the symptoms are really the messenger. They're not trying to hurt you. If you understand that, you have the key to healing. Okay, well, that's kind of a really quick and dirty summary of what I think you need to know and what, Howard covers in much more detail. But look, if any of this sounds interesting to you, please get in touch. You'll find me on alchemytherapies.co.uk, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye-bye for now.